I would have nearly had an eating disorder in my like early 20s with like restricting and controlling the food that I ate. And I suppose that's probably one thing that really got me into nutrition as well. And, you know, it's because we're so pressured in this world to like, you know, look good and to be slim. And it really doesn't help because there's so many women that have eating disorders. Like the percentage is ridiculously high for women that have eating disorders.
And I'd say we don't even know half of that,
because I feel like it's often like a self-hatred thing. And if we don't fully love ourselves, we're going to treat ourselves badly.
Nicky, it's a pleasure to have you here today. You're smiling at me across there. It's been a long time coming. We met at Wellfest. Well, you come up to me at Wellfest.
I did indeed.
You're like, I have a few things to talk to you about, Laura.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's go. So
thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you. A little bit different as well, this podcast, because you do a number of things, and maybe I think you'd probably be better off explaining yourself.
Yes, okay. Where do I start? Well, I work in holistic health, mainly with women, and my journey started with nutrition, thinking that nutrition was, you know, everything. If I change my diet, then I'll be healed and well. And realizing that, you know, after diving into that, then there's just so many other aspects of health that we need to like attend to bring ourselves into like more vibrancy.
Will you just explain what holistic health is actually, first of all?
Yeah, holistic health is looking at the body as a whole and looking at the health in a physical way, but also emotional and like mental and spiritual. So it's like a whole way of bringing health into the whole body.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like diet, exercise, sleep.
Lifestyle, mindset is a big one. Yeah, and like having like self-love and compassion for yourself as well. Like there's so many ways that we can bring health into our body.
And how do you do that then on a day-to-day yourself and with the people that you work with?
Okay, yeah, so
straight in there, no kissing, right?
Well, of course, like, you know, number one, I would look at my diet, and like I usually would, like more of an 80-20 rule with my diet, that like I eat healthy 80% of the time and 20% I just eat whatever I want, because like stress is like probably one of the number one things that I look at as well with holistic health and lowering stress. And if we're too strict on ourselves, that can actually be counterproductive with looking at our health, because if we're like eating a really healthy diet but we're like super stressed out about it, that's going to cause a lot of health issues to come on. Whereas if we're more relaxed about our health, and you know, we can eat well some of the times, but like we don't feel the guilt and the shame for like pigging out every once in a while, then we can, you know, feel a lot more healthy in ourselves. So we're not like trying to control everything, that we're like coming from more of a place of love rather than a place of fear.
I get that actually, because I suppose when people are trying to eat the best that they can all the time, that must be hugely stressful.
Yeah, no, and it's a big thing at the moment, you know, and I've seen it a lot over my life, especially in certain places where, you know, they're like kind of healing centres where people come to eat raw vegan and that. And a lot of people that come to those places are trying really, really hard to control what they're eating and trying to stay healthy, and it's probably causing them more health issues than good. Not all of them, but you can see it in some people that are like have really strict diets on themselves.
Are you vegan?
No.
Are you vegetarian?
I'm not, but I eat very little meat. So like if it's put in front of me in my parents' house, I'll often eat it. Okay. But I wouldn't buy it to cook it myself. But
what about fish?
Fish, yeah, I eat a bit of fish, but not a lot either.
Okay. Yeah. And getting back to the veganism, do you think that's in some ways identifying as a vegan is someone's way of controlling their diet even more? And
well, some people are vegan for ethical reasons, so I completely understand that. I mean, I don't think you have to be vegan for your health. Okay. Yeah. So there's a different, like if you have a different intention behind the veganism. Yeah. Do you know? So some people will like think that they have to just eat fruit or be raw vegan to be healthy, and sometimes that can bring in more stress.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also deficiencies too, I would imagine.
Yeah,
in some
I mean,
instances,
I know quite a lot of vegans and raw vegans that are actually extremely healthy as
Yeah,
well. So
of
it's hard to know. You know, I've met people that just eat loads and loads of fruit that seem to survive, and they're like, you know, really well built in muscles, and you know, it works for some people, and then it doesn't work for others. You know, we're all individual in our nutritional needs.
And have you always been as positive about food and your body, or did you go through the stage where you felt guilty when you had a crunchy bar, or you know, those kinds of things?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I would have restricted my food. Like I probably would have, I suppose, nearly had an eating disorder in my like early 20s with like restricting and controlling the food that I ate.
Okay.
Yeah. And I suppose that's probably one thing that really got me into nutrition as well. And you know, it's because we're so pressured in this world to like, you know, look good and to be slim. And it really doesn't help because there's so many women that have eating disorders. Like the percentage is ridiculously high for women that have eating disorders.
And I'd say we don't
At
even
some
know
point.
we don't even know the half of that
Yeah,
either.
exactly. Because
There's a shame associated with it too.
I
isn't
didn't
it?
look for help, and I just, you know, kind of overcame it with years of like learning to love myself better.
Okay.
You know, because I feel like it's often like a self-hatred thing. You know, if we don't fully love ourselves, we're going to treat ourselves badly.
And you did start a chef's course, but you were like, it wasn't for you. Is that right?
Well, I went to Colbrew Street when I left school.
Okay.
And I was like 3 months in. I was like, no, don't. This is not for me.
Why?
Well, I mean, there's a few reasons. I mean, I just wanted to cook, you know,
Okay.
whereas that was like, you know, kind of doing business studies and science, and I was just like, I just want to cook. But then I was like, I also don't feel like I want to be a chef in like a restaurant and work really late hours all the time, and it just didn't
It's
feel
a hard slog.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went and I started working in the bank, and I worked in finance for 9 years.
Did you love it? Did you love it?
Well, I mean, I didn't mind it, but I didn't actually like the thought of the fact that I worked for the bank more so than the actual work.
Okay.
Do you
Fair
know?
enough.
Yeah, and you know, I really do believe that we need to follow our passions and our dreams, and I wasn't feeling fulfilled, you know, so I was like, what is it that's going to bring me away from the bank studying nutritional therapy for one, but also it was like a customer of mine that came into the bank and she was taking out American dollars, and I was like, oh, what do you do? Just randomly asked her what she does, and she's like, oh, I'm a natural chef. And I was like, oh, what's a natural chef? And she told me about this college in the States, and I went home and Googled it, and I was like, I just lit up, like everything cell in my body lit up, and I was like, that's what I need to go and do. Need to study. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it or why, but I just felt the call to go. And then it's like the universe opened up for me. I was offered this apartment for free, like 5 minutes away from the college. For the whole time I was there, this beautiful Irish woman gave me her apartment, and I was just like, okay, I'm totally doing the right thing. I'm on the right path. I feel like when we open up to create in this world, when we're actually creating something, that we're given opportunities to continue doing that.
Okay. And what is a natural chef then, as opposed to
So
a unnatural chef?
Well, actually, we learned kind of more so how to cook for people who were ill.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like we were trained to be a personal chef, so we'd go into someone's house and to cook for them if they have something wrong with them. So
you take a specific illness and you'd cook according to that illness, is that right? Like, how would you know what to cook for them, or is it just... Yeah. Like, to be honest, I wasn't sure that that's exactly what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to do the course. Okay. But I did do personal chefing for a few people, and like a lot of the times they would have said, like, I want to actually go on a paleo diet, so will you cook me a paleo diet? Or like I'd often like tailor it for whatever the client wanted. Okay, so it's not a case of someone had an illness and you're feeding them the food specific to that illness. Yeah, no, that too. But to be honest, I didn't go into doing that business for like any length of time, so I didn't really have that job as such. Okay. Yeah. Like, actually, weirdly enough, all my clients that came to me were like, "Oh, I want to eat in this way. Can you cook for me this way?" Okay. Yeah, but also I would give them advice on nutrition as well during it. Okay, and how long was the course? It was a 6 month long course. Okay. Yeah. So where did that bring you then after doing that?
So I ended up working in the Hopsack in the health store for 4 years as the head chef there, which was amazing because it's like I was able to just be creative. I didn't have to. I was working weekdays like 8 to 4, Monday to Friday as a chef. It was like the most amazing chef job ever. No table service or anything like that, just making the food and putting it out in the deli. But I got a bit bored after a while. Like I was like, I need to mix it up. So I ended up going to Costa Rica.
Okay.
And I worked in a healing center there for a year as the head chef. And that is kind of where I really opened up to a lot of different ways of healing. So, of course, they would practice meditation and yoga, but also they served plant medicines there. So cacao and ayahuasca were two of the plant medicines that I learned about there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about ayahuasca. I'm very interested in that because I've heard of a few people that have done that. A lot of it to heal past trauma, they've said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have to have past trauma to do it, or...?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
No. But I think that ayahuasca is something that like some people feel called to do it and then it kind of appears for them. Like someone will say, oh, hey, there's a ceremony happening, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to come? So for me, I'd have heard about it and I was like interested. But when I landed in Costa Rica, it just so happened that they were serving ayahuasca there. So I was like, okay, well, obviously I've now been offered this opportunity to sit with ayahuasca. So I definitely wanted to try it. I'm very curious about these kind of things. So it's like, it was scary going into it because I knew that it wasn't going to be like super easy because, you know, you do all your demons and fears come up. It's about like how you handle them in the moment.
So tell people what ayahuasca is, first of all.
So it's two plants. There's a vine and another plant that come together to form what becomes a like a psychoactive experience that has like DMT in it. And
what's DMT?
So it's a molecule in the brain, but you can like increase the DMT. It kind of like can open what you might call the third eye. So it kind of can rewire certain neurotransmitters in the brain to help you see something different.
Okay.
So ayahuasca is the experience that I had was probably the most terrifying and challenging experience I've ever had.
Okay.
Yeah, it was lucky that I didn't.
I hear
like
people
it
getting sick and having diarrhea and a bucket and like loads of stuff.
Yeah, there was many ceremonies where I would have vomited quite a lot.
Many ceremonies, so you did it loads of times.
In Costa Rica I did five ceremonies there. Okay. Yeah.
And why was it so terrifying then? Sorry, I keep asking questions. I'm really
yeah, of course.
How does it start?
So you're actually it's in some sort of a temple. And the men sit on one side and the women sit on the other side. So you could be sitting at the back, like looking at all the men. Then they serve the medicine. So you go up one by one and you kneel in front of the person that's serving the medicine. And, you'd take the medicine and you'd set an intention for yourself. And then a lot of the time, kind of like weird visual things come in the next maybe hour or so. So like sometimes it's quite dark. For me, actually, it's quite kind of dark flickerings. And the ceremony always happens at nighttime, so it's pitch black as well.
So just to scare the bejesus out of people?
Yeah, like you go in really tired and you're really hungry as well because you're kind of fasting as well. But that you forget all about that when the medicine kind of kicks in. So you might get a lot of flashes of different visions at the start. But what happened for me was it took the third ceremony for this to actually happen. But my heart, as you would call it, maybe the chakra, like the energy within my heart, like it literally like felt like it popped open. So it's like I had all of this stored emotion in my heart that hit me in one go. I'm actually getting like goosebumps all over my thinking about it now. Okay. So like when my heart chakra burst open, it was like all of the negative emotions I've ever felt in my life hit me all in one go. And I was just like, oh my good God. I felt like I couldn't cope because the emotions were so strong. And I panicked in a way and I didn't really properly surrender to the emotions. And the woman that was serving the ayahuasca came over to me and she gave me like a quartz crystal, like a heart. And she was like, it's a quartz crystal for your heart. And I was kind of like, what? I didn't not hear what she said at all. And I was just like holding on to this thing with like dear might. Like, and then after a while, kind of when I calmed down, I opened it up and I saw the heart and I was like, oh my God, my heart. And it was like I put it back into my heart. It's like I found like a piece of my heart or something. So it's like I let out all of this negative emotion that needed to be released, and then I was able to like fill it back up with this love that I felt. And the love that I felt after that ceremony was like no other. Like it was so profoundly beautiful. And I got this message of like, you know, feeling this kind of, I'm perfect the way I am. It just came through from above, like, you know, like, oh God, wow. Like, you know, we're perfect the way we are. I'm perfect the way I am. Like, so perfect the way I am. And it just brought me into these like tears, like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And like,
I've heard of people that have done it, they cry and they like, vomit and then they cry again, like
beautiful tears, like, and everyone was sitting around. It was the closing ceremony, the light had come up and I was just bawling my eyes out, but in front of everyone, and it was just like I felt so seen and so like connected and like witnessed, you know, in my tears. And it was just such a beautiful feeling. Everyone was holding hands and oh my God, it was just like I felt so beautiful in that moment. Like it's such a challenging experience, but
is it
rewarding.
like a trip? Is it like a drug trip really? Is that what it's doing?
Like, yeah, I mean, it you know, it depends. Each time it's different, and people will get a different experience every time as well. They sit with it, so like it really does help to like for you to understand your to understand more about yourself and what you need to let go of, what you need to release, and what you need to call more in of. Do you know? So like, it's oftentimes it's not even like what happens during the ceremony, it's what you do with it afterwards. So like there was another ceremony I had where it opened me up to sing in front of people, and I was like so scared to sing in front of people. I closed my voice down for so long, and then I felt so much power inside my body when I sang. It just came out of me out of nowhere. It's like I was set up perfectly to sing this song for people, and when I sang it, it just felt so good that I was like, oh my God, I need to sing. I need to sing. And then every time there was an opportunity to sing, I would like put myself out there to do it, because before I would have, if even someone asked me, I'm like, no, not singing, don't sing anymore, no. Whereas it just opened me up to be able to sing, and I had to do the work to put myself out there to actually be able to do it. And it's taken a lot of time, but like finally I've gotten to a point where like I can share my voice without feeling as like absolutely like, you know, struck with nerves.
Were you a singer as a child, or did you sing
I would
before?
have sang, yeah, as a child, and I shut it down for having so many like competitions and, you know, exams and stuff like that in school. It's always a competition. Why is it always a competition? Can we not just sing to enjoy our voices and sharing music with people?
I suppose that's what choirs are though, is it?
Well, choir, I enjoyed singing in the choir, definitely.
Okay.
But it's like, you know, to sing on your own, to be vulnerable with your own voice in front of people, like that just scared the shit out of me after being in those like feshes, you know, like.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was talking to a psychotherapist there, and he was saying, you know, even with kids' sports now, it's always a competition. It's always about winning, and you know, there's always leagues of some kind. There isn't just like an unsupervised or supervised, if they're young, kick the ball around every Tuesday night. Like it's always a league of some kind, really, isn't it? Or a friendly, but it's, you know, your goal is to beat the next team that you play, as opposed to just kicking the ball around. I suppose like, that makes sense then about the singing.
Yeah, we're like conditioned to believe that it's like everything is a competition.
You have to win everything or come rank at something.
It's not good.
So then when you do the ayahuasca, and you did it 5 times, and you say that you went into it, I suppose, did you know that you got into it not loving yourself, and then you, as much as you felt when you, or what was your reason for doing it? Because as I said to you, I often hear of people doing it because they feel that they'd past trauma that they want to let go of, or other kinds of issues. They may have been on antidepressants before, and then they've heard that the ayahuasca can just, you know, open their brain up to just, I suppose, loving themselves, like what you said, and accepting themselves.
Yeah.
So what was the reason why you did it, other than just being curious?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had struggled with, self-esteem. As I said, I had that, like, when I was in my 20s, I would have controlled the food that I definitely had self-hatred towards myself. Like, I was extremely bullied in school, and like, when I was about 16 or 17, and I hated myself.
What
like,
school did you go to? Whisper to me.
Oh no, I went to Wesley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you okay saying
But it was a
that then?
particularly bad year.
Was it?
It wasn't a very nice year, supposedly.
And how were you bullied? What did it? Do you want to go into it or no?
I don't know. Do I? It's and it still brings up stuff.
Isn't
like
that
it.
mad?
It still does bring up
And
stuff.
how old are you now?
I'm 41. Yeah. I was made feel really, really ugly, basically. But there was a good about 20 lads
20?
At some point that were like doing the same thing to me, that made me feel like I was really ugly and like just not I just didn't feel like a nice good person or something. It was just, I just felt it made me feel really, really bad about myself.
And did you just bury it, or did other people witness that and try and help you, or was it something that you buried?
No, I mean, they did kind of bully a few people. It wasn't just me as well, but I didn't really talk about it to my friends or my parents, really, to be honest.
But did other people witness it, or was it just something that was done slyly?
Other people would have witnessed it. Yeah, definitely.
And they would have just not said anything?
Yeah, no, a lot of them would have just joined in.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Kids can be really cruel.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So like, I definitely, like, even though you think that you've done all this work on yourself and like, I totally love myself now.
Even talking about that makes you feel...
There's still a part of me, and but to be honest, I'm friends with some of those people that bullied me now, that went to Wesley, and they're amazing people. I love them, like good friends, and I'll often actually thank them. And I'll say like, do you know what? Thanks for bullying me, because like I got to learn so much more about myself, and like I got through that, and I'm who I am today because I was bullied in that way. Do you know? Even though I
could have done without it though, fuckers.
Yeah, totally.
I actually feel like I want to go and like have a word with them. It is terrible though how that can carry through and make you not love yourself, isn't it? Or like yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
God. Okay, so you went into it, you came out of it then feeling your heart had burst open, that you loved yourself, and obviously then it sparked your curiosity with plant medicine, like what you say. Yeah.
Okay. So cacao would have been another of the plant medicines that I worked with over in Costa
so the
Rica.
cacao thing I don't get, right? Because I just see cacao as cocoa, and when I hear people dancing around a cup of cocoa, and I'm being facetious here, right? But what is it about cacao that is allowing this kind of ceremonial thing to happen and makes people, I suppose, the way I would look at it from an outsider looking in, because I have never done a ceremony, is it's a little bit like yoga. You go into it, you breathe gently, you're opening yourself up, and it's just kind of calming your nervous system, but it may not actually be having an effect on you medicinally, say. But I would love you to argue back at me as to what it actually is.
Well, yeah, I mean, cacao, it has lots of physical benefits for the body.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I suppose the most important ones, you would say that it really helps to set off all of those beautiful chemicals in your brain. So like serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. So this often brings that kind of heart opening effect. And also there's so many other things as well. That there's really, really high in antioxidants, and like
it's pure cocoa, is it?
It's chocolate, but it's in its original form. So there's nothing added and nothing taken away. So it's the pure form of chocolate.
And you gave me a bar before we came in here.
Yeah.
Is it very bitter tasting?
It is very bitter tasting.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Because I do like my 70% chocolate.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is 100% and it's not even chocolate. It's like...
You probably like it, like if you put in a little bit of oat milk, it kind of cuts out the bitterness.
Okay.
Yeah, some people still sweeten it, but I don't. If you put in a bit of oat milk, it's sweet enough for me.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, that heart opening effect, it really does help to, gently open the heart. Not like ayahuasca, not what I was talking about earlier at all. It's like you have the opportunity to nearly like kind of, go up to the door and walk through the door if you want. She's like, ayahuasca will literally just push you through the door into like opening you up. Okay. Whereas with cacao, you really have to tune into yourself and sit with yourself and see what it is that your body is looking for. So like in regards to opening your heart, like a lot of the times people would say like, oh, it's so blissful, and some people do have a really blissful experience with cacao, but sometimes it will help to release certain emotions. So in a ceremony situation, you might see people releasing tears and crying or laughing, or whatever emotion is in their hearts, they can then have the opportunity to release it. So it's a much more gentle way of opening the heart than you would talk about ayahuasca or that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It brings back to me an interesting thing that happened to me when I was doing yoga once with a fella called Peter Sanson. He's like one of these guys that travels around the world, but he's really like, he's anti social media, and like you'd never see any of him on nothing Facebook, nothing. I asked him, would he do a podcast with me? He's like, no, I won't. I'm not. I don't give my energy like that to people. And so I've practiced yoga since 2006, since I got married, because I got married in India, and my mother-in-law told me, because I'm quite, a busy person and would have always been like running around like a blue horsefly, and she says, I think yoga would be good for you, Laura. It might calm you down a bit. I think she was worried about her grandchildren anyway. And I got into it and I loved it. But I remember one time doing this course with this guy. He came to Ireland, and I was doing one yoga move where it's basically, I don't even know the name of the asana now, I forget it, but it's where your legs are not in the lotus position, but your feet are together, and you're really opening your hips.
Yeah,
and like babies can just sit there with their feet kind of pressed together, the soles of their feet pressed together, and their legs on the floor. But it's really hard for us because we're adults and our hips are so close and stuff.
Yes.
And this was a move that I was never able to do. I was never able to get my knees to the ground, and he gently kind of came behind me and just like pushed my knees down slowly, like. And it wasn't easy, but I got into the position and I burst out crying, but not from pain. But it was just like this emotion, and I'm not an overly emotive person, and I'm not saying that as like a badge of honour, but it wouldn't be something that would normally happen to me. And I remember like the tears just came, and it was like a very strange feeling. So is this the kind of thing you're talking about then?
Well, exactly. Yeah, the hips actually we can store a lot of emotion in our hips. So when we do those hip openers, it can often release the tears.
Yeah.
So like cacao can kind of enhance that as well. So like some people might actually drink cacao before they do yoga, so they have like an even more of a powerful time with possibly releasing emotions. But like for me, I find that it does help to bring in the more self-love and bring more compassion, because when our heart opens, we can feel more compassion for ourselves and for other people as well.
Okay.
And it helps with for me, it helped really with the creativity side of me, and like opening up to my gifts, and like truly like going after what I love in this world. Like before I had cacao, I was kind of, floating along, and then when I drank cacao, I started bringing like much more of my passions into my work, and like opening up to seeing a new way of being and being creative and following my dreams and following my heart and having that belief in myself.
And how often do you do cacao?
Depends. Like might drink it every morning for like a while, and then I might take a break, or maybe I'll drink it once a week.
Okay.
Depends, and sometimes you can just drink it for like a really nice drink, and then other times you drink it to actually like sit with the medicine.
So the ceremony that you're talking about, what does that involve?
So it depends on, like, I've done different kind of ceremonies. Like I often pair cacao with dance, because that's the way I learnt about it in Costa Rica, was usually with dance. So often on Friday now I'm doing a cacao dance where we'll sit in circle and we'll like meditate and say some prayers and intentions while we're drinking the cacao, and then we'll dance. So it will help to like open us up to feeling more comfortable in our bodies, to be able to dance, to be able to flow to the music and let go of like our monkey mind and really stay present with ourselves.
What is sorry, you said something there I wanted to ask. What are the prayers? Are prayers just intentions? Are you praying to a God, or are you praying to yourself, or what is it?
Well, you'd say prayers, so they're like, I mean,
you have a lovely smile whenever I ask you a question. You like smile at me, and I don't know whether it's like you're going, is this one, what's this one asking me? No.
I mean, so a lot of people will say that everything has a spirit. So the plant will have a spirit. So cacao has a specific spirit that, we like to say prayers to. So like, give gratitude for the spirit of cacao, the spirit of this plant that's helping us to open up. So you might say prayers for the spirit of cacao. We'd also say prayers of gratitude, because it's a really strong, like to bring in those feelings of gratitude when you're drinking cacao to help open you up even more as well. The prayers might be for, say like I want to say a prayer for my mom who's ill, or she's not ill. Sorry, that was just an example. But so like,
so
those.
It's not offering up necessarily to a god as such. It's just it's an intention that you're saying. But you could be talking to God if you're that way inclined. It's whatever you want, really.
Absolutely.
And what does the dance involve then? I'm interested in the dance now. I used to love dancing, but.
Yeah, I mean, on this Friday, we might guide people into the dance at the start, but like me and my friend are going to DJ, so it's more of like just a fun DJ set, and everyone will just free flow dance.
And what kind of music do you play?
I play so many different. I always play for the crowd. Depends on like what crowd shows up, really.
Okay.
But I suppose like a mixture between kind of like dub, spiritual kind of, but then also house music and
trance,
like fun music. Like I'd play maybe a bit of trance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would people take other drugs at these ceremonies?
No,
it's just cacao.
No, yeah. And this is the great thing, because I feel that cacao has really brought in a place where people are dancing without alcohol. Because I feel like a lot of the time, a lot of our Irish people are a bit like reluctant to dance without alcohol. So I feel that cacao has helped us to like let go of the alcohol, and we're able to just dance freely without alcohol. Yeah.
And do you drink at all now anymore, or?
Yeah.
You still?
I'd still have a drink or two. Like I'm definitely not the way I used to in my 20s. Or
oh God, oh Jesus, we wouldn't be alive today for. And the amount of people that would turn up to these events, like where are the events? So
at the moment I'm doing events in the Leinster Cricket Club in Rathmines.
Okay.
Yeah. So I might have, like, it depends. Like I also do a shamanic trance dance, which is not cacao, and it's actually a blindfolded dance. So I only have about maybe 16 or 17 people because it's blindfolded, and I want to obviously keep people safe. But the cacao dances, you'd have like maybe like 20 to 30 people at them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to spend a Friday evening, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
How long does it last?
3 hours.
Okay.
Usually.
Jesus,
like 3
that's
hours.
bang for your buck.
Yeah.
How much is it to go?
€33.
Okay. Why did you pick 33?
I don't know. Just
I'm an awful questioner, aren't I? Just like, always I'm like, that's interesting. Let me probe
I
again.
was charging 30, and I thought I actually, was like, I'd like to charge a bit more, but I didn't want to go to 35, so I said 33.
Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough answer. I just want to go back to the ayahuasca for a minute before we leave it.
Yeah.
Would you do it again? Or do you feel the need to do it again?
Yeah, like if I was put in the position to do it, I'd probably say yes. I'm not going to be like, okay, I want to go and do ayahuasca. Where am I going to do it? I'm going to Google somewhere there I can go and do it. But if I end up somewhere where they're serving ayahuasca, I definitely would.
And is there anywhere in Ireland that people do it? Is it legal, first of all?
It's not legal. Yeah.
I think that there's people that you can go to Amsterdam and do it, or you can go, I think there's a few underground ceremonies.
There is, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which
we are not going to give you the address of.
No.
But okay, so
But it is beautiful to know that we have the option to sit with ayahuasca in this country if we wanted to.
And is it an ancient tradition for the Costa Ricans? Who is it? Like the way the Incas used to? What were they doing? Chewing coca leaf and getting all kinds of stuff, and that wasn't that what they were doing? Yeah,
well, I suppose that it's like in the Amazon there would have been like the Peruvians would have been I think to be honest I'm not like an expert on ayahuasca, do you know? So I'm not like, I think that's more where it would have come
that's the
from.
only reason I had you on.
There's definitely a few cultures around it wherever it grows, and I think it's like in South America and going into Central America as well, where the two plants grow is where that they would have had of these rituals.
Okay, and have you had anyone else that's had a really bad experience of ayahuasca and was never the same again type thing, where altered their brain chemistry? Because the way you hear about people doing LSD and
Yeah.
you know, the majority of people might trip, they may have a bad trip or a good trip, whatever it is, but they come out the other side, but some of them go, never do that again. But then others, it actually affects them badly. Have you experienced that with anyone that you know, or?
I can't say I know that it's affected someone long term.
Okay.
Like I know some people that might have had like a really challenging experience and might have preferred that they didn't do it. But I don't know if it's like, you know, affected them mentally in the long term.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we talk about psilocybin now?
Yeah.
Getting all the drug stuff over and done with first. So, when did you do psilocybin and what was your experience?
Well, I suppose it would have been in my early 20s first, you know, going up the hills and picking some mushrooms.
Oh, here up the mountain, up the
and
Dublin
just
mountains.
laughing my head off with my friends, you know, like it's, I remember having such fun experiences out in nature and that, and like feeling that really deep connection with nature and really beautiful. But then also I do remember having some not so like, you know, positive experiences where I got really, really, really anxious. But it's very important to sit with these medicines like in a place where you feel comfortable, you feel secure and you feel supported, because if you don't feel safe, then, you know, you can end up spiraling off into like a negative mindset. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was cooking actually for a company called Inward Bound. And then when I went to Costa Rica and learned about cacao, then when I came back from Costa Rica, they asked me to serve the cacao at their psilocybin retreats in Holland. So
they're greedy. Psilocybin retreats with cacao, they just want it all, don't they?
Well, cacao is like kind of like our celebration ceremony on the last day to like integrate and like help people to. We do a dance as well, so it's like singing and dancing. Yeah, so we get people to like tune into their voices and then dance as well. So like people really open up because they've already been like opened up like from the psilocybin. Like they're the most beautiful ceremonies.
And is there a real love bomb to do with it as well? Like, do people end up, you know, hooking up on that at these kind of things? You know,
no, not at this.
Okay.
At the Inward Bound. No, I've never
Okay.
witnessed anyone hook up. But they definitely, like the group, there's probably about 12 people that come, and they have such a beautiful time together. Like I've worked with them doing personal or private ceremonies where you just have one person doing the ceremony and two facilitators. And although you do get a lot, like they do get a lot from it, the group ceremonies are by far, like it's like tenfolded experience of like people connecting together and, you know, what other people are experiencing in a group. Like say if one person like starts to cry or screams in the group, then another person might feel open to do that. So like the energy is like completely different when you're in a ceremony with a group rather than just with one person. Yeah, so it's like, oh my God, the transformations that you witness are just unbelievable, and it's so beautiful to see what happens after the ceremony and what experience people have. You know, you sit in a sharing circle and they'll tell you like what went on in their experience and what they learned or whatever, and it's just always like so magical to witness. So
the psilocybin, is it more that you're kind of hallucinating a bit when you're on the psilocybin as opposed to the ayahuasca's more internal?
Yeah, like so with the Inward Bound, they actually blindfold you for 5 or 6 hours and you're lying down in a bed. So that's why it's called Inward Bound.
Right.
Yeah, so like a lot of people again will experience, you know, those kind of like psychedelic, you know, you probably see paintings that have been done by people that have taken psychedelics, and it's like, whoa, you know, like all of those lights kind of forming all beautiful patterns and colours and mandalas and stuff like that.
But isn't
like
it a case when you take psilocybin that you can hear colour and like see sound and things like that? Some people would, yeah. Like I remember talking to someone who'd done it, and she said that she was lying on the bed looking at the lamp. And it wasn't that the lamp was talking to her, but the colour that was the light that was emitting from the lamp was talking to her. So is it a whole thing that it's actually affecting all the senses and it's kind of mixing up the senses, or not?
Absolutely.
Mixing up is pejorative. It's just opening up your subconscious to all these other feelings. Is that
Absolutely, yeah. It can really heighten all of the senses. So like even if like say someone lights like sage or something in the space, like you might smell it even more. like there was one person that like had to leave the space because someone put on some essential oils and he couldn't stand the smell of the essential oil.
Okay.
Like, so it can really heighten all of the senses. Yeah, for sure.
A bit like pregnancy. Jesus, your sense of smell is heightened so much. I remember when I was pregnant, I could smell people's, like, I could smell the fake tan off people's skin, even when they're like at the other end of the shop and stuff like that.
Wow,
Like,
yeah.
Stuff. And I could smell people's body odor when they, you know, they'd obviously washed, but I could still smell it. Mad stuff. It just kind of heightens your senses. So maybe that's a good way of kind of like looking at it as well.
Yeah,
but
sure.
like lots of, you know, sure, isn't it the Beatles are famous for having done psilocybin, or is it LSD? And they wrote some of their amazing songs on it.
Yeah. But like I suppose for us in Ireland, like, because the psilocybin is the plant medicine of Ireland, right? Because we can go and pick it up the mountains if we wanted to right now.
Not that we're encouraging it.
No.
Not that we're encouraging it.
No,
so to be really
definitely
clear
not.
Here, I'm not encouraging this.
You know, I mean, there are things that you need to be like totally aware of before you go and take psilocybin. You can't just go out and take it. And
but also you
go
could pick a mushroom that isn't safe.
Exactly.
So
see, yeah. You really have to know what you're picking.
Yeah.
And there are the one of the guys that I work with, Darry, actually does talks on how to pick safely and how to, you know, have your own ceremony at home in a safe way. So that's nice to know that support is out there as well if people wanted to do that. But yeah, it's, you know, it's not something for everyone. It's not something like something that everyone can do.
There are clinical studies being done with psilocybin on PTSD and OCD and things like that, you know, properly controlled trials. And
alcoholism and smoking and as well. Like, it's brilliant for addiction. Like, if you think about it, you know, the patterns in your brain that, you know, if you have like depression, or, you know, you're just feeling really sad all the time, and those connections, you know, get stronger and stronger the more they're there. So psilocybin can help to break those connections and form new ones. So it does really help the uptake of serotonin. So a lot of the people that would feel like depressed or have that PTSD, they get a new connection in the brain, and then they're able to bring in more joy and more happiness. And then if
when you say new connection, do you mean like something new grows in the brain, or is it just
like you know, like a synapse of, like, you know, the connection of, like, you know, the way the brain is like got so many different like connections, you know, so there's the new connections happen within the brain.
Okay,
so you can see
do they have these in studies, or like do they show like a scan before or scan after, or is it just
I'm sure you probably could find that if you googled it. Yeah, for sure. So that's why the new pathways in the brain can help to like break away from the PTSD or the OCD or the depression.
It is interesting. Like, it'll be interesting to see in years to come what they do with that. Yeah. Because obviously, if it's going to be something that pharma make, they'll have to change it slightly so that they can patent it, and research and develop it properly, patent it so they make their money back, etc.
Exactly.
Because these things that are natural and out there, they're not patentable, obviously. So all of those kinds of things need to be taken into consideration. But it is interesting how they've manipulated cannabis, say, to be really high in THC to the point that it's very dangerous, versus, say, what would have normally been grown, you know, a couple of hundred years ago out in the wild or on farms. Now, when they're grown in labs, they can be extremely dangerous. And actually, what's happening now is that you just need a couple of, you know, good scientists, or even people that just know how to, you know, add this to this, and they can actually doctor a plant medicine and make it really strong and grow it in a lab as illegal, and, you know, can have devastating consequences.
Exactly.
Like what's going on with the ketamine thing. Sorry, over in the States, it's not ketamine, it's fentanyl.
Oh, God,
that drug there.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's been made on the black market in labs now and added to the, you know, your cocaine, your heroin, all of these illicit drugs. And it makes people become highly addicted really, really quickly, and that causes devastation. So that is the concern, is when it gets into the wrong hands, which it inevitably will, because people, you know, what makes the world go around? Money and greed. Anyway, I'm going to get off my pedestal now, because I'm not in great form about the way the world is at the minute.
I know.
So, but yeah, no, it is interesting how all of these things have come about, and drugs, and then the banning of them, and, you know, for good reasons in a lot of ways.
Yeah, of course.
But I suppose
yeah.
I think that we need to be open to the fact that there are these molecules out there that are grown in the wild, in nature, and that can help people in some instances. But obviously, you know, it is important that the clinical trials are done and that it's monitored correctly.
Yeah, I know, and all of the studies were shut down, you know, back in the 60s, and it's only starting to re-emerge now that they're like taking those studies back up again.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to see this re-emergence of it, and you know, Inward Bound, I suppose they were, I wouldn't say one of the first, but like they kind of started doing these ceremonies over in Holland like very early on, and since then, like it's grown so much. So it's really beautiful to see that like certain people are stepping up. You know, there's Irish women that are like in their 60s going over to do these psilocybin retreats.
Good
like
for them.
It's beautiful to see the amount of people and the type of people that are actually coming to do them.
All sorts, I'd say, as well.
Yeah, totally.
What else do you do then apart from the cacao ceremonies and that? You do the holistic healing. This, you know, is it all cacao involvement or? Yeah,
well, I particularly look at I work with women that suffer from HPV virus.
Okay.
So I went on a long journey with that myself. So it's human papillomavirus, which is it's an STI. It's a virus. So
it's also one of the leading
causes of cervical cancer.
Yeah.
So
and actually head, neck, throat, penile, anal cancer. Like there's a lot of cancers associated with HPV.
And there's so many different strains of HPV as well. I had the high risk strains, like 16 and 18, and I had them for 14 years. And
sorry, how did you know you had them first of all?
From getting the screenings, you know, getting like, because this, I think it's so important for women to keep on getting screened.
Yeah.
Because this is definitely, you know, a really crucial way to stop if we were going to get cancer, we were not going to get cancer if we keep on monitoring it. It's like, because there are ways in which to help the abnormal cells, to either get rid of them or to hopefully heal holistically if possible. So yeah, I mean, my experience with it was I had treatments done. I had the LLetz treatments done, where
What's the LLetz?
The LLetz is where they have an electrical rod that they kind of scrape off the top of the skin of the cervix. I know, yeah.
But it's simple, and like it is a simple enough procedure, isn't it?
It's simple, but it's like pretty invasive, and it's not nice at all. And you know, they take a little bit of your cervix away, and I had two treatments, but unfortunately they just kept coming back again. So I was told I needed a third treatment, and I was just like, do you know what? I don't want this again. I don't want to do. Why does it's coming back? This is not working for me anyway. So I ended up saying no. I'm not getting it done. Can you give me 6 months and I'll come back again? And they were like, okay. And I went off and I kind of, you know, took a few supplements here and there, and I didn't really change my lifestyle that much. And I came back and they're like, no, you need to still get this LLetz treatment done again. And I just said, no, please give me another 6 months. Look, I'm going to Costa Rica. I'm putting my intention into this. I've done so much research now on like how I can heal this holistically. And they were kind of like, yeah, sure. But okay, go on, go off you go.
Ultimately, it's your choice to do that, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I still had time. It takes a long time.
What did you have? Abnormal cells?
So I had
actual cancer cells.
I had abnormal cells.
Okay.
So yeah, it was. I think at that point I had like it was verging on a high grade SYN, as they call it. So it's like SYN 1 is low grade, and there's SYN 2, and then there's SYN 3, and then there's like a pre-cancer.
Okay.
And then cancer. So so they said, okay, look, we'll give you another 6 months, and then I went off to Costa Rica and I put my all into it. It was like my intention that I'm going to heal while I'm here. And I did so many different things in holistic health, and as I said, I opened up to, you know, the plant medicines and that as well, releasing a lot of the emotions that I was holding on to, releasing a lot of shame and guilt and fear. Also like doing meditations and connecting with nature, you know, walking barefoot and like, you know, going to visit the waterfalls and just being really like connected with myself and letting go, like not really engaging much in like social media and really reducing the stress in my life. And I also took supplements that were mushrooms. That was the main supplement I took was mushrooms, because there are scientific studies that suggest that a specific type of mushroom will kill HPV infection.
Which mushroom is it?
Well, the one that is scientifically proven at the moment, there's a few different studies going on, but the one mainly that we're looking at now is AHCC, which is a type of a shiitake extract from Japan.
And is it something that you take internally, or that you put it up into your vagina?
It's in a tablet okay. form. Yeah,
right.
yeah. And I've noticed since that those clinical trials came out, the price of the AHCC has gone up considerably. Very expensive to buy
Probably
now.
Demand for it as well.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, like, I mean, I have to say that this is your experience.
Exactly.
And it isn't a case of that you're saying, or that I'm saying in any way, shape or form, that this is the way to treat HPV or to clear it, or that like to refuse your LLetz, because obviously I come from a pharmacy background where
yes, yeah.
So, but like, I am very interested in your story, and I know that people will be interested in your story. It's just, everything that you, I suppose, stand for. So that's just, I just wanted to kind of make that clear.
Exactly. Look, and I would never recommend anyone not to get the LLetz treatment, because I believe it saves lives.
Yeah.
It totally saves lives. It saves so many lives. So I would never tell someone like, oh no, you shouldn't get the LLetz treatment. For me, it just wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
So that's why I needed to go down a different route. So I went down the holistic route, and that worked for me. That might not work for everyone either as well, Do
you think though as well that you went down the holistic route, okay? And this isn't woo-woo stuff, okay? Because there is a good degree of stress in the world, and people have stress on themselves all the time, and that can lead to illness. We know that. So do you think that when you take yourself out of your stressful environment and situation and plonk yourself in somewhere like Costa Rica, where you can open yourself up to lots of things, meditation, go on by the waterfall, like what you said, and all of that kind of stress reduction can actually help with kind of disease and illness that you might have, or that you may have had, or that you might have in the future? It can help to potentially reduce that. Like, there is a lot to that as well. I do believe that
one of the main things, really.
Okay.
I think stress is one of the most damaging things in our life. I think I said at the start about the diet, if we have a really shit diet, and then we have no stress, I think you're probably going to be healthier than someone who's like has a really healthy diet and actually has a lot of stress in their lives.
But then also even the whole diet thing, okay, because obviously I'm a mum of 3, and I am very conscious of the fact that if I don't cook for them, they will just eat crap. Like, they won't, they know how to cook a plate of pasta for themselves, but they'll literally just cook pasta and grate some cheese on it. And that's okay as one meal of the day, but you can't just be having carbs and cheese like that all the time. So, if I don't hide vegetables in their food or enforce them, like tell them like eat those peas or you will not get any supper type thing. So there's a stress with that, but then also life stress means that lots of parents, mums and dads, they're working all day, they come home, their kids are cranky and tired, they just want to get some dinner on. Like, it is difficult to live in these modern times.
It absolutely is difficult.
And for the amount of money we're ploughing into medical research for certain drugs, I think that if we took a step back and looked at the food industry as a whole and the shite that they're pumping into our bodies, and then the advertising that's allowed, and the fact that we're not teaching children and adults how to cook basic meals, I think that it's all feeding into itself, into this kind of like sick care system or unhealthy type of living.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, there's so much I could say about the crap that isn't, like, if you go into the supermarket, like 90% of it is crap. It's not.
I know, it's actually really sad, isn't it?
It is. It's so sad. It's so sad. And we're kind of forced to kind of maybe put on some microwave food because we're so stressed out because we don't have time to cook.
I know, and I can totally get it. And also, I think it's really important to acknowledge the fact that I can go to the shops and put food in my trolley that's fresh and good, and I can go home and I can cook this food because I've learned it, because I grew up with a mother who taught me how to cook. But there are generations of people that have not seen that. Like,
No,
I
I
saw like 3 generations of family, of a family
Yeah.
in the pharmacy that would not have known how to cook a square meal from scratch.
Yeah.
Or, a punnet of strawberries is a $5. How much is a Happy
know.
Meal?
I know.
What are you going to feed your child to fill
I
them
know.
up? So
Yeah.
it's actually like we're so far removed from where we should be. I think it's just terrible.
I know. Absolutely.
And then we're all going on
Absolutely.
about the obesity crisis and everything that will the stress that puts on everyone too.
Yes, yeah. I actually did write a book called A Practical Guide to Cooking for Health.
Did you know?
Yeah.
Give it a little bit of a pimp there. Go on.
Well, I suppose it is what it says. Like, it's a practical guide to cooking for health. So, I talk about like different ways to cook and like what do you need in your kitchen to cook and how to balance flavors and that. And then it has like, I think there's probably about 70 recipes in there as well. I talk
So
about
it's having the basics, the simple basics that you can literally add to anything to make nice meals. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And what to keep in your cupboard, like in case you run out of food, to like make something nice at home. And also then I like have chapters on heart health, chapters on immune health, gut health. So there's so much. I talk about like all the different diets that are out there and
how shite they are.
Like, yeah, well, I mean, I discuss like the pros and cons, the benefits, and but then ultimately coming back to like a way of eating basically whole foods and being intuitive with what is good for us, because as I said before, we're so individual that like one person will do really well on a vegetarian diet and another person won't. So it's about reading our bodies rather than...
I hear that, right, but as a mother of 3 boys and with a husband in the house too and a dog, I'm not cooking individual meals. So
but usually
when they reach adulthood, they can do whatever the hell they want.
I mean,
with their
usually
diet.
like within the family, it's usually similar in what our nutritional needs are, because
Okay.
a lot of it might come from genetics.
Okay.
Do you know, like oftentimes you find that like if the mother's allergic to gluten, then the daughter might be as well.
Okay.
It's not like, usually very different from child to child in a family.
Fine, that's great. I just wanted to make that clear. So then, before we come into the studio, I was asking you about the fact that you help ladies with HPV, and you mentioned the word shame, which I'd like you to discuss a little bit more, because there is a shame with HPV, and I know friends of mine that have had it, and they're like, "Oh my God, I've HPV! Like, people must think I'm sleeping around."
Well, that's the thing. And because, HPV can lie dormant in the body for years. So we might have picked up HPV the first time we ever had sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like, specifically there was one woman that rang me up and she was just like, "Oh my God, I don't know what to do. Like, I really don't know what to do. I can't tell my husband." And I was like, "Why not?" And she said, "Oh, because he's going to think that I'm sleeping around." And, trying to kind of calm her down and be like, be aware that these things just can come out of nowhere from actually a sexual experience that we had like years and years ago. And usually it's a stressful situation in our lives that actually bring the HPV to the surface and start creating the abnormal cells as well.
Well, that's like the Cacao virus. It can,
Exactly.
It comes to the fore during stressful times.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but most women, and I know I did as well, like, you hold that certain sense of shame and like, oh, I have a disease or a virus, an STI.
And I picked it up from having basically what people were put on this earth to have, which was sex. But like, obviously there's a shame for women having sex more so than a men. Particularly if women are having sex with more than one person or, whatever.
But the thing is that men can't get tested. So all of the responsibility lies on the woman.
Jesus, that's a surprise now, isn't it? That all the responsibility lies on the woman.
Yeah,
Does that sound familiar with life
like,
in general?
Yeah. It's crazy because there
Okay.
is a test, but it's just not done in this country. Yeah. And in most countries, they don't test for men. And it's like, well, now we're the ones that have to always be the one going like, just to let you know, I actually have HPV. So, and then you have to make a decision whether, okay, well, are we going to actually sleep together? And obviously condoms do help the prevention, but they don't completely work in protection against it. Yeah.
Well, sure, it can be transmitted orally or with fingers or with all kinds of things. So it's not just penetrative sex, which is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, no,
so
a lot
how do you help these women then, as well as telling them to not be ashamed for their being women?
Well, we actually do work with cacao medicine as well. Like a lot of the time, we would have a ceremony, whether that be in a group. Like, and I'm working with groups, and do you know, one of the reasons I'm working with groups is because I've seen the tenfold experience that people have in a group when they're healing. So now I have, like, you know, groups of women coming together online to go into these places of ceremony and being able to fully let go and talk, even just to share their experiences with each other. Like, oh, this is how I feel, that's how I feel, and then might shed some tears, and then you know, we have the ability then to actually go, do you know what, like, I don't need this shame. I have the ability to let it go. So we work on letting go of certain emotions and filling ourselves up with more positive emotions.
Sounds lovely. Just when you say cacao medicine, just to be, I know that it's a food as well. It is actually a food, but you're referring to it as medicine. But I suppose the Health Products Regulatory Authority in Ireland wouldn't consider it a medicine. So I just need to say that. I just do not want getting myself in trouble on this podcast, that's all.
Yes,
but that,
of course.
You know, but obviously that is the way that you refer to it, because that is how you view it, especially when you're in these ceremonies, etc.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what else do you do then? Like, apart from this, it sounds like a women's circle of sorts, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Do you ever get any men doing this
not with
you?
the HPV.
Not, okay.
No, they don't even know they have HPV.
Oh, yeah, okay. They're just going around giving it to everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we would also obviously look at lifestyle practices and, you know, nutrition and that as well. And I'd always give them a copy of my book, and I give them like tasks to do each week, and like maybe journal as well. Journaling's like a big one of, like, you know, kind of understanding how we're feeling about something and being able to let things go. And then we would also do the shamanic trance dance, which is something I've also studied, which is a way of kind of unlocking your subconscious without taking any kind of plant medicine. And
she's doing inverted commas here with her plant medicine, okay, for anyone that's not watching the YouTube video.
Yeah, so like, it's different. It's opening up to different ways of trying to help these women to awaken, what I call awaken their own inner healer, to find out what they need to do to bring themselves to a healthier place. So it's not just helping people or women with HPV virus. It's actually like helping women to bring themselves into a more vibrant and healthy place, physically, emotionally, mentally. Okay. Spiritually.
Well, that sounds lovely.
Yeah,
you know,
it's such fulfilling. It's really fulfilling work. Like, and I really do believe that I had that really long experience with the HPV. And actually, you know, I never said what happened in the end of my journey. No, that's fine.
We jumped.
Yeah,
I'm a terrible jumper. I know I am.
So when I came back from Costa Rica, I came back halfway through my year. Cause you have to go in every 6 months to get your colposcopies, the camera, right, when this is going on. So I went back and I was sure that I'd, you know, healed, and I was like, my cervix is going to be like, perfectly pink. And they were like, no, it's not. You're going to have to get the treatment again. And I was like, God, what am I going to do now? Like, you know, I've gone off twice to try and do this. And I was like, I was still kind of determined to keep on trying myself.
Can I just ask you why you were so against getting the LLetz again?
Because I didn't want it the third time. Because I kept coming back.
Okay, and it's not because it was potentially because of the fact that it was burning off cells in your cervix or scraping off cells in your cervix, that it was taking away parts of your cervix, and you were worried about that, was it?
I was worried about that. I was worried about scarring, and also, like, if you want to have a baby in the future, there is a possible risk of there being like a premature birth.
Is that because if they take a certain amount away, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So you can end up like your cervix can open quicker than it would have done. So they actually then have to decide whether to sew you up. Like, I know women that have had...
They get the stitch when they're pregnant.
Exactly,
to avoid that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So tell me what you did anyway. You rogue. You're rogue.
Well, I decided, okay, I was like, myself, I was kind of like, oh, I'm not going to get it. But then I got... You know, so many people were like, look, you know, I feel you need to just do the treatment again. And in a way I felt like totally bullied into it. You know, I was told I was selfish and that I needed to do this to my own body for everyone else to be okay so they wouldn't have to worry about me. But of course, then after kind of feeling the fear, like what happens if I do go back and I start feeling pain or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I should have just gotten the treatment done. I ended up going back in to get the treatment, but the lady actually messed up my appointment, and I didn't have an appointment, and I was flying out to Costa Rica like on the Friday after, and I was like, okay, well obviously I can't get the treatment done because I've got this flight I need to catch. But my mom was like, no, you need to change your flights. I'll pay for them. You need to change the flights. So she was really, really nice and generous to offer to change my flights for me to get the treatment done. So yeah, I stayed back, and then when I stayed back the next time, they actually had my proper results. So they were going to do the treatment before the results came back because I was going back to Costa Rica so quickly. I was HPV negative, and the smear was like tiniest abnormality. Okay. So I didn't need the treatment at all.
Okay.
So it was like...
And how long ago was that?
If that woman had not messed up my appointment, I would have had the treatment done unnecessarily.
Not unnecessarily, okay.
Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
That was now about 4 to 5 years. About 5. It was actually, I think it was 5 years ago.
Have you had a smear since?
I've had 3 smears since.
And all HPV negative?
Yeah.
And it's not that it's lying dormant, is it? Or it's gone back to dormancy? Okay.
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it could come back. Who knows? Yeah.
But currently you're like, yay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, have the normal cells clear then too?
All of the cells are clear. Yeah, they have been. Like that one, there was a slight abnormality, and the one after that was completely clear, and it's been clear ever since.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know women that have had the treatments, one treatment, and they've never had an experience again. I know people that have had the treatment and it goes away, but it comes back. I know people that have healed. To be honest, I don't know anyone that's healed holistically and it's come back yet. So we'll see about that. But, a lot of my clients would have, some of them have the LLetz treatment, some of them don't. And some of them heal without having it done. It doesn't come back. Like, there's so many scenarios. Do you know what I mean? So it's like there's not one way
it's not
for everyone.
And there is a vaccine for it, okay? There is a vaccine for HPV that's rolled out for kids. They're usually given it in the first year in school. And it has reduced rates of HPV. But I know you and I differ on our views of that vaccine, so we're not going to go into that today.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that it's it does obviously has been having a good effect on the lower rates of HPV, definitely. Yeah, but there are risks with it as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That was a lovely way to get over that, wasn't it? I was like, can we talk about vaccine? You're like, well, this is the way I feel. I was like, okay, I'm not going near it. Nicky, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about while you're here, while I have you in the hot seat? Or I think we kind of covered everything that we said that we would. Is there anything that we've missed? Because I didn't really write any notes for you because I thought I'm just going to chat away to this.
I know, it's better that way, isn't it?
I think so. It's lovely. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do feel I need to do a little bit of research. People that I have in, particularly people that I would know nothing about their background. But with you, I did feel this would just be a lovely kind of conversation between two women that, we agree. Like, I mean, there's a lot of what you say that I love as well. And you've opened my mind to lots of stuff too. And I just think it's lovely to be able to have these conversations and kind of discuss how other people have come to be who they are. In their 40s or 50s or 60s, however it might be. But it is interesting, kind of the life journey and life path that people take. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I ask you my 2 burning questions?
No, I think we covered quite a lot. Yeah. It's beautiful to be on.
It was
really
a lovely conversation. So what advice would you give young people today?
Okay, so the advice, I truly feel that the best advice is to really follow your heart. To follow the passions that you either have or had even as a child. Some people kind of forget what their passions are when they go into adult world, and a lot of the time it's the passions that they had when they were kids. And for me, I know that I wanted to sing, I wanted to dance, I wanted to bring music into my job, and I didn't believe in myself and I didn't put myself outside my comfort zone enough, and I ended up working in the bank. And it took so long for me to realise my passions. And now I'm like, holding song circles, I'm holding dances, I'm like singing, and I'm like DJing like it for my job. And it took so long for me to like find that self-belief, that self-love, and that like motivation, determination to actually go out and follow my heart and do what I want to do. So for young people, like, to fully believe in themselves. Like, if we don't believe in ourselves, it's very likely that we're not going to succeed. We need to have the belief, we need to follow our passions, and we need to be able to have the ability to put ourselves outside our comfort zone in order to do that.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
And what is the meaning of life?
Well, I believe that our soul comes to this earth to with specific lessons that it wants to learn. So I don't know if you've ever experienced, Laura, where you're in like a pattern loop, like you keep experiencing the same pattern again and again. And I found that in my life a few times. And then I found that like when I've clicked or learnt the lesson behind what it is that's happening, that pattern then will actually disappear, and that we will be free from that usually a negative pattern that's going on. So I feel like we're here to learn and evolve and grow in that way, our souls are. And I also do believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that offers us the gift of having emotion. Like, being able to feel emotion is such a gift, and I think that we take it for granted because like we're often like, oh, emotions are so overwhelming, or like we can often label them as like negative emotions. And I think that if we step up and surrender to our emotions, and we're able to fully feel them and be free in our feelings of emotions, and then we can let them go, that we will like have much more fulfilling lives. And to be able to feel love, like, that is such a gift, to be able to feel love in this life. And then when we can step into a place of love and not come from a place of fear. So like if we're doing things, if we're setting intentions in a place of fear, well, I'm fearful about this thing, so I'm going to act in a certain way because I'm fearful, I'm going to do this out of a place of love. So I'm going to set an intention, or I'm going to take an action from a place of love. That's when things can flow much easier. With the fear, we're met with so much resistance. So it's about like, bringing the emotion of love in, and having that be such a gift. And I feel like if we were all had the ability to do that life would be a much more peaceful place. I think that's missing for a lot of people in this world, because we're so disconnected, and there's so many things that happen in our lives that disconnect us over the years and years and years of our ancestors, and we've become so disconnected from ourselves and nature, and just to be able to come back to a place of love is such a gift.
Nicky Halliday, what a pleasure. Where can people find you?
So I'm at nickyhalliday.com. I'm also Instagram handle Nicky Halliday Natural Chef.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a big pleasure. Yeah.